Let's speak on issues around Trump's tariff and the benefits of the strategic economic and security partnership between Nigeria and Africa and the United States. I have with me in the studio a development economist, Kolawole, Kehinde. You're welcome as usual.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you here once
I don't know,
again.
where have you been with the trade war and, the chaos caused by Trump?
Well, we've been up and about, rowing and seeing where we could take the hold of the opportunities that you
Okay.
find in the market.
What do you think Nigeria is ready to take the opportunity with this? It's like U.S. is now extending hand of friendship to Nigeria, and they're saying that let's come and collaborate both in the economic and security space. What do you make of this development, and do you think we're ready?
Nigeria has an interesting foreign policy, and the foreign policy is to have a free market. And you see that that was one of the things that the president did immediately after his inauguration. Two things happened. There was a collapse of the multiple foreign forex policy, and of course, which led to probably the devaluation of the naira, if you want to say, and the removal of subsidy. It's been in the international space that subsidy has distorted market players in coming into the market, and the president has told them, hey, we now run a free market, and we want people to come in. And if you look at what has happened over the last 1.5 years, you've seen foreign direct investments coming to Nigeria, especially from energy sector. You know, the United States of America plays a significant role in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. But you also know that United States is not the largest trade partner with Nigeria. China is the largest trade partner with Nigeria, and that is enough to make United States agitated. And of course, looking at the issue of tariffs that have come in, of course, that has reduced the number of aids. United States of America focus more on developmental aid, while China focus on infrastructural development. Now, the United States wants to have a much significant presence in energy. They want to have an extremely significant presence also in security. Don't forget that Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa, and of course that's
I
really
think
a
it's
major
the third largest for now, as it is, because already we have South Africa and Algeria, I think, possibly, with that's the current rate.
Okay, so if you permit me to go further, you'll see that in terms of continental reach to in West Africa, of course, you know, Nigeria is the largest, has the largest economy at least in West Africa for now.
Well, let's say, yeah.
So, you know, the figures keep changing, and it depends on the indices at which you want to look at it. It's a significant opportunity for Nigeria to take, because our foreign policy says that we'll deal with those who want to deal with us, and we're not going to be a part of any bloc, so that tariffs or trade wars or some other issues will not will not be within the crossfire of world powers. You don't want to be at the crossfires of world powers, and when a world power comes to you and asks for collaboration, you just want
Mr.
to do
Kehinde,
something like
it's
that.
one thing for U.S. to extend its hand of relations to Nigeria, though it's not as if they've not actually been trading. The two countries have been trading partners, but are we actually ready? Because I'm saying this because when you look at much of our export to U.S., it's mostly in energy. I mean, crude oil, basically. That's what's even taking a chunk of exports to the U.S. And when you look at the last time I checked the trade balance between Nigeria and U.S., Nigeria seems to be having more of around 5 billion to that of U.S. 4 billion. I believe the U.S. wants to extend this particular focus to see how they can actually exploit exports. But the thing here is, are we ready? Because we've seen in the past Goa, Africa Opportunity Act, that has somehow given some African countries the opportunity to actually trade, access the U.S. market with limited tariff or no tariff at all. Nigeria has not actually taken advantage of that. So,
Okay.
do you think we're ready for this?
I think it's a
In terms of diversification, looking at other non-oil exports that we can take advantage of?
Well, one, it's a question of perception. The second thing is a question of comparative advantage. If we ask, could you answer the question, what technology would Nigeria be selling to America? Of course, you know, Nigeria is not going to sell any technology.
Of course.
But Nigeria would probably increase value addition, and the US is specific about where they want to interact. The security. Have you ever asked the question why they want to be involved in security? And trade being the last of it, because you look at the issues. China is our largest trading partner, and followed by India. And you look at things like that. Can America open more trade? And despite the fact that we have a trade deficit with China, we have a trade surplus with India. But with America, of course, our major export is oil and gas, and it will continue to be so. Now, what do? We need to leverage on that. Ensure that we have more investments in oil and gas. You recall that President Trump also had issues with investments in oil and gas, and now he is really very bullish about investments in oil and gas, contrary to the dictates of the Climate Change Act and the Climate
which
Change
is actually a bad
agreement.
news to Nigeria.
So it's really, no, it's not a bad news in the sense that
we are talking about oil prices crashing, and our budget depends on it.
But oil prices will rise, it undulates, and we know why the oil prices have crashed.
It basically means more oil to the economy, and I mean to the global economy. And when there's more supply, what happens to the demand and supply? You know, there's possibility that oil prices will be so cheap.
So that means Nigeria needs to pivot, and we've been talking about pivoting. When I say pivoting, diversification for as long as we can remember. And we look at, but if you look at our GDP, what is the percentage of oil and gas revenue in the GDP? You know, you see that the non-oil sector is gradually increasing on a year-on-year basis. Yes, it could have been increasing at a slow pace, but there are significant tractions happening in that space. I believe strongly that we should not just focus on the USA coming to partner with us. Just as our foreign policy goes, we should continue to partner with as many countries, world powers that choose to partner with us based on the comparative advantage. I think the best thing we can do is to make sure we sign deals that are not short-sighted, that are not aid-oriented. And those are the areas we really need to look at.
Okay, solid minerals is actually one area, basically, which area do you think that we should focus in? I mean, we should focus on, so that we could possibly develop it, and somehow it will help us in our trade balances.
You just mentioned solid minerals. Solid minerals, we know that the investment in solid minerals is still very insignificant compared to the number of solid minerals we have in Nigeria. And everything is still done at a subsistence level. But away from extraction, we have to start thinking about development. The Nigerian administration, subsequent administrations had been so immersed in extractive businesses, rent-seeking. No matter how huge your solid minerals if you don't put value into it, you don't add value into it, it's going to be a very big challenge.
But what do you think is stopping us from adding value? We could add value. We've seen other countries, our neighboring countries, have this law that if you don't actually add value, you can export it out of the country. Why can't we have the same?
Okay, look at countries like China and India. When you come into their space, you sign deals that have to do with technology transfer. And so when we don't have deals that talks about technology transfer, you don't build the industrial base of that country. And if you don't build the manufacturing and industrial capacity of anything, the best you can do is to probably just continue to churn out mineral resources, and it will continue to have, just like you mentioned, the more we find in the market, the lesser the price of what we would do. Look at what OPEC says. OPEC is they're increasing production. Of course, that's where you find that the value of oil has reduced. Apart from that, the war with the ongoing trade issues with China and America has also led to that. So if we can add value to our extractive industries, everything from the extractive industry, it gives us more leverage. That's one. Two, the issue of focusing on agriculture can never be underemphasized. And three, I think about a week ago, the AFDB chairman, Mr. Kehinde, said that there should be a youth bank, and I think there is a work in progress to that. So we have a very young population that is savvy in technology, and we see that opening. In fact, most of the FDI that come to Nigeria has been in tech. And you see that the more we have that, the better the opportunity for us to leverage.
So investment in our youth, so that we can take advantage of.
You can never write away.
Now, what immediate steps should Nigeria take at this time to ensure the economy is not hurt by a tariff imposed by U.S. after this 90-day period, a window? I'm referring to...
I know, the 90-day pause. The 90-day pause, that's just 3 months. And the 14% tariff shows that... let's look at the items in which those tariffs are actually placed on. I think that's the first thing we need to do. The next thing we need to do, look at alternatives. That means which other countries can we deal with? The second thing is which is just the immediate, that's the short-term plan. The medium plan is to create local production. And of course, the third is to negotiate, whereby the fourth is to retaliate. And you know, Nigeria does not have the capacity to retaliate to Trump's tariff at the moment. So seeking alternative is really, easiest is the quickest way that we can actually think of.
Okay, what option of market does Nigeria have to the U.S. market? I mean, how can we actually create new opportunities to channel exports to help the country?
I just told you that in terms of trade, our largest trading partner still remains China, followed by India, and they do substantially well.
What about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement? It does present another opportunity, don't you think so?
Absolutely. You look like our largest trading partner in the West Africa is Cote d'Ivoire, and we should increase that opportunity. You know, there are so many challenges that have stalled the African Free Trade Zone. The issue of visa issues, entry and access to all these countries, and the regulations that has to do with entry and exit of goods and services are really, really challenging. African countries need to relax their immigration policies, just like the EU has done, and ensure that there is free entry, not only of goods, but also of people.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kolawole Kehinde. It's a pleasure having you on the program.
It's always good having you. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.